can be said about our gospel today from Matthew. It is a famous passage. It's the sort of passage and the sort of miracle that even people outside of the church have heard about, have come across. Jesus walks on the water. It is miraculous. It's amazing. It's this supernatural event. And if people who don't go to church, if they can think of a miracle of Jesus, it's usually either turning water to wine, because that seems useful, or it is walking on the water, because that seems cool. And this is something that I think we've kind of heard in a bunch of different places, and a lot of different people have encountered it. Jesus walks on the water. Remember that this is happening immediately after feeding the thousands of people with just a little bit of fish and a little bit of bread. So you've got these back-to-back miraculous works, these back-to-back moments where the supernatural power of God is manifest for people to see and to know. The first one happens with thousands. Lots and lots and lots of people get to see this happen. The second one is very quiet. It's kind of in the dark. And it's just sort of his closest friends who are on this boat. But they've gotten separated because Jesus is out praying. And then he walks on the water. And they are terrified because people shouldn't walk on water. Never tried. It doesn't work. You go straight down. But Jesus walks on the water. He is the master and Lord of the wind and the wave. And he is standing where he shouldn't be able to stand. And the disciples are like, oh, what's going on? And Peter, who tends to do stuff before he thinks about it, is like, that's awesome. Jesus, I'll. And Jesus is like, okay, come on. And so Peter gets out there, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden, he's like, well, this was not a great idea. And the wind and the waves, and Peter starts to panic a little bit, and he's thinking, I was a little safer in the boat, and why did I do this? And maybe Jesus only has enough power for like one of us to be on the water. I don't know what's happening, but get me out of here. Help, help, help. And Jesus is like, has to drag him out and put him back in. You have little faith. And we can speak much about this moment, not just of the supernatural power of Christ. This is a miracle that ought to point to his divinity. It ought to point to his mastery and lordship over creation itself. And we can talk about Peter and that response of faith, to step out of the boat, to step out of safety, to trust in the Lord, to have faith in him, and then amazing things can happen even walking on the water. Much could be said about that, but I'm not going to talk about that. If you look at Romans, our second reading, it's very simple, and it's very clear. And in some cases, it's a little bit unlike a lot of Paul's writing, especially in Romans, which is very, very dense. It's very thick with meaning. He writes these long, complicated sentences where one clause attaches to another clause, and there's 5 points of doctrine before you get to the next phrase. It's kind of grammatical fruitcake. Very thick, very dense, filled with little chunks of stuff. But this one's clear. This one is very straightforward. It's simple. Declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart God raised him from the dead. You will be saved. Anyone who believes in him, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. And it's simple. It's straightforward. It's pretty clear. It's pretty easy. It's good for the Jews. It's good for the Gentiles. It's good for the Greeks. It's good for the whites. It's good for the blacks. I will confess I didn't follow any of the news yesterday. Starting to hear a little bit about it. Maybe that's why this is a good passage for today, because everyone who calls on the name of the Lord can and shall be saved. Doesn't matter Jew or Greek or Gentile or black or white or whatever, but all who call on the name of the Lord, all are part of the body of Christ. All are part of the kingdom of God. All are brother and sister. Much can be said about that. The simplicity, the clarity of the gospel presentation, even practical meaning in a time where so many people are so angry. A reminder, how can people hear of this good news? How will they know that this message and this promise is good for anyone and everywhere? It's going to take people to preach. It's going to take people to teach. Someone's actually have to get off of their rear end and walk and go do something, go say something. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news basically means this needs to be spoken out loud. This needs to be demonstrated through our lives and through our actions, and other people have to know. Maybe it will come through you. Much could be said about that. I don't want to talk about that. I always feel a little beholden, a little guilty even, when we have a reader who has a really long passage. So, thank you. They get 5 pages of something, or they have 17 different place names, each of which have 30 letters in a word and 9 syllables, and it's just very complicated, and you have to kind of really sacrifice to get through it. And I always kind of feel like, oh gosh, I should really make it worth his while. You had to listen to that whole thing. I should really make it worth it. I'd rather preach on this just to kind of make it worth it. And so yeah, let's do that. I love this story. We have been talking about Jacob now for a couple of weeks, and this is kind of the next step of the story of Jacob. This is the next step of this particular family. This is the next step of God's blessing, his plan, and his covenant with them. That's the story of Joseph. And you know that I like to preach on the Old Testament, and I do so because as a preacher, as a pastor, just as a Christian, I want people to know the Bible. I want them to know these stories because I am convinced if you will know these stories, you will love these stories. And if you love these stories, you will love him. And that's why the Old Testament is so fantastic. It is filled with stories. These are great stories. Adventure stories and romance stories and just all sorts of exciting stuff. These larger-than-life characters almost who do great and amazing things. And this story it's part of it. I want to tell the story of this so that you'll remember it. I want to tell the story of this so you will know it. Jesus told stories. When he wanted to make a point that people understood or remembered, he told stories, right? So I want to try to tell this one, and hopefully something will sink in about Joseph, about Jacob, about his brothers, about the promise of God, about not giving up, about God's character, about all these sorts of things. Because again, if you will know these stories, I'm convinced you will love these stories. If you love these stories, you will love God's word. And you love God's word, you will love the Lord. So, we're talking about Jacob. Jacob is now back home. He's back in the land of Canaan, the land of his fathers. He's got all these sons. The sons are, kind of grown up now. And he's got this one. He's got his favorite. Joseph is his favorite. Now, Joseph is described as the child of Jacob's old age, which basically means Jacob had kind of gotten to the point where he thought he wasn't going to have kids anymore. And then, oh, what a nice surprise. I kind of felt like I was done, but here's one more. Added to that is that Joseph is the son of Rachel. And if you remember, Rachel was his favorite. Rachel was the one he was working for, about working 14 years. This is the wife I really, really love. I mean, the others are kind of okay, but Rachel, she's the one. So, you've got this combination of my favorite wife and a son when I didn't think I was going to have one. And so Joseph is just kind of extra special to Jacob. And, you're not supposed to have favorite kids, but he's got like 12, and do whatever you want. That's kind of the way I see it. So, Joseph is Jacob's favorite. Jacob gives him a coat. The coat of many colors. The ornate coat, as this particular translation puts it. And some say, well, it means it's the coat of long fringes or long sleeves or whatever. It kind of doesn't matter. It's just whatever it is, it actually warrants being mentioned. It's so special that they kind of single this out, where you find out very purposely and specifically that he got this really, really great coat and no one else did. So, Dad likes me the best. Right? And the brothers took that very well. So the brothers hate him. And Joseph has this gift. He has this divine gift of prophetic dreams. And it's really kind of, it's amazing, it's cool, and it's interesting. But he basically is given knowledge by God about future events and to be able to understand them, but through these very vivid, very odd, strange, metaphorical dreams. And so Joseph who is already kind of at the bottom of the list of his brothers, he starts telling them, hey, brothers who don't like me because I'm Dad's favorite. By the way, have I told you I'm Dad's favorite? Because I am. Well, I had this dream. And basically, we are all represented by like these bushels of wheat, and my bushel's the best, and it sort of rises up in grandeur, and all your bushels are kind of bowing down, and that's great, right? And the brothers are like, oh, that's wonderful. Let's kill him. and he kind of doesn't get the message because he does it again. He's like, oh, now I had this dream about the sun and the moon and the stars, and guess what? All you guys are bowing down to me again. Even Mom and Dad this time, like, ha, 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 ha. Let's kill him now. So Joseph is disliked by his brothers for being the favorite and for, let's be honest, he's kind of rubbing their noses in it. You know, I am trying to kind of look through the eye of the brothers here. I don't think I would like him either. So a little bit of understanding here, and we have this moment where, you know, some time passes and Joseph is out, he's looking for his brothers, and he finds them. He finds all of them, and they're kind of way out in the country. They're out in the woods, they're out in the wilderness, they are out in an isolated place by themselves, which is not a great idea for Joseph. Why? Because he's outnumbered now 11-1, and how much do they like him? Not at all. So they have this plan. You know how we wanted to kill him? Well, let's kill him. Because he's here all by himself. There's 11 of us, there's one of him. I'm sick of it, let's do it. And so they come up with this plan where they're going to chuck him down a hole and he will die. And eventually, Dad's going to figure out that only 11 of us came back instead of 12. It might take a while because, you know, that's a lot of kids, but eventually he's going to figure it out. So let's come up with an idea. He got killed. Oh, it's very tragic. It was like a bear. It was like 10 bears. It was like 10 bears riding on great white sharks. And Joseph, I mean, we were all gonna die. But Joseph, he saved us all, but tragically. And so they feel really good about this plan. We're gonna kill him. We're gonna convince Dad it was like a tragic accident, and then now we don't have to hear his annoying dreams or see that smug little face ever again. So they're about to toss him down a well, and the oldest brother Reuben says, I don't like it either, but maybe killing him? Maybe that's a bridge too far. So he comes up with this idea, well, let's throw him down the dry well. Because, you know, I don't know why he thinks it's a good idea, but he does believe that after everybody leaves, he can circle back around and get him out and take him home. Because, you know, Reuben's had kind of second thoughts about all this. Yes, I'm jealous. Yes, you annoy me. Yes, you're kind of a punk, and I'm sort of tired of how you're Dad's favorite, but maybe I shouldn't murder you. Well, as he's trying to work this out, along comes a band of Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites like Arabs, like traders. And these guys are bringing a bunch of stuff to some market somewhere to sell. So another one of the brothers has an even better idea. You know, I can kind of see why killing my brother is not the best of ideas and the whole blood guilt and all of that, but I really hate him. I've got this idea where we can A, get rid of him, and B, make some money. Win-win. All the way around. It's a fantastic idea. Let's sell him into slavery. These Ishmaelites, they're on their way to some market town. They will buy him. They will sell him again. We will never see this guy. And we make money. Perfect. So, that's what they do. And Joseph is sold by his own brothers. Flesh and blood. Brothers I grew up with. He is sold into slavery. He is taken away from friends and from family, from home, to a far-flung place he has never been to before. He has done so in chains. And he is a slave, and his life is over. I was Dad's favorite. It looked like everything was going my way, and now my life is done. Nothing but misery, nothing but toil, nothing but death. I am a slave in chains. It's all done. It's not. That's why this is such a great story. he is sold into slavery. He's brought into Egypt, and he's sold to this rich guy in Egypt. And this rich guy in Egypt has bought a slave, and he puts him to slave work. Except Joseph hasn't given up. Joseph, who could have been lost to despair, Joseph, who could have said, nothing worse could possibly hit my own family, has sold me like property. But Joseph is confident in the promises of God and his covenant and his family, and Joseph just works. He's a slave, but a good one. And eventually, this rich man, Potiphar, is like, hey, this kid's, he's pretty good. So Joseph actually impresses him and works his way up the ladder. And he's free from slavery. He moves from being a slave to, he's like a servant. And then he moves from being a servant, because he's doing such a good job, to being kind of like a hired man. And then he does such a good job with that he goes from a hired man to kind of like an employee. And from the employee, he becomes like an advisor. From an advisor, he becomes a manager. And he's worked his way all the way up until he is Potiphar's right-hand man. Joseph has worked hard, and he's smart, and he's clever, and he's faithful. And this is all working out. He was at the lowest of the low, in the bottom of the barrel, sold into slavery, but he didn't give up. He didn't quit. The Lord blessed him. And now here he is back at the top again. This is a great story, except it's still not done. Potiphar had a wife. His wife, she was maybe less faithful to Potiphar than Potiphar was to her. And she saw Joseph, young, handsome, smart, strapping, and said, oh yeah. Mama likes what she sees. And she tries to do something with Joseph that a married woman should not try to do with a man who is not her husband. Now Joseph runs off. I'm a good boy. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do the right thing. And he takes off, but this little indiscretion, or at least the attempt of it, is observed by others in the household. Okay, so now they're caught. Well, Potiphar's wife says, he did. I, the flower of virtue. I was waiting for you, my dear husband, when this brute of a man. And she tells this whole story about how he was the one who was all over her, and she barely escaped with her life. And so Potiphar trusts his wife and not Joseph. And though Joseph has done nothing wrong, though Joseph is now paying for the consequences of someone else's bad act and sin, Joseph is thrown in jail. And Potiphar's like, I've had enough. I'm going to throw you in jail, you piece of garbage, and you will never get out. You will stay here until you rot and until you die. This is how you repay me? You were a slave. I brought you into my house. I trust you with everything. You try to steal my wife? How could you betray me like this? You will be in jail until you're dead, and you deserve it. And from the top into the bottom, to the top, and again to the bottom. He's got no hope. He's in jail. This is not with like a sentence with time off for good behavior. He is thrown in jail to be forgotten forever. So he would just die. And that's got to be the end. And Joseph is very close to despair. He is very close to giving up. And yet it's still not the end of the story, because Joseph trusts in the promise and covenant that has been given to his father and his father's father and his father's father, that this is not done, that the Lord loves and cares and hears his children. So I'm not going to quit, but I have no idea what to do next. Well, Joseph happens to not only be the person in jail. And there's more people, there's more prisoners. Two of them happen to have been former servants of Pharaoh. So they're in Egypt. Pharaoh's the top guy. He's had a couple of servants. They've been tossed in jail. But Egypt is undergoing a weird time right now. All of Egypt is being plagued with these crazy, crazy dreams. Very vivid, very odd, very metaphorical, and everyone's having them and they can't stop. So everyone's kind of on edge and everyone's kind of freaked out. And these two servants, they're having dreams of their own that they can't seem to figure out what to do with. They're kind of whining about it. And Joseph is like, you know, I kind of had this gift about dreams, and I don't know, whatever. If you'll tell me, maybe I'll give it a shot. You know, maybe I know what's going on. I mean, it's not like we have anything better to do. And so they tell Joseph about these strange dreams, and Joseph has a gift of divine interpretation of this prophetic meaning. He says, he listens to one sermon. He says, I know what your dream means. Your dream means that you're going to get out of jail. You are going to go back to Pharaoh's household, and you're going to get your old job back. Everything's going to work out great. And the guy's like, that's awesome. And the other guy's like, ooh, do me next. That's awesome. You know, I want to hear a good word like that too. And so he tells his weird dream, and Joseph's like, not so good. Not as good as the last guy. You are going to die. You are not getting out of here. And yikes, I feel really bad, but that's what your dream means. Your dream means you're going to be executed. And he is. The first guy is released. He goes back to work for Pharaoh. The second guy is executed. The interpretations of the dreams that Joseph has offered have both come true. It's amazing. Then Joseph can feel, I guess, good about that as he languishes in jail. The story's still not over. Because like I said, everyone in Egypt is plagued with these dreams. And they keep happening. And Pharaoh is like out of his mind because he can't stop these dreams. And it's bothering him, and it's frustrating him, and it's very, very depressing, very strange and creepy. And it has to do with 7 stalks of corn, and they look really, really great. And then 7 mutant, dried up, shriveled stalks of corn appear, and they fight. And the stalks of corn fight each other, and the bad mutant corn, it destroys and eats the good corn. And then there are these cows, and you've got 7 big, beautiful cows, and you've got these 7 like skeletal, emaciated zombie cows. And the zombie cows, they eat the big cows. And Pharaoh's like, he's waking up every morning, and it just doesn't stop. So he's at his wit's end. And his servant sees how on edge he has become. And he says, back in jail, I knew this guy. And this guy, he could tell what dreams meant. And Pharaoh's like, fine, bring him. I don't care anything. He is, about to lose his mind with these dreams he can't stop. So there's anything to make it stop. They bring Joseph in. And Joseph listens to this story about the corn and the cows and all these crazy things plaguing Pharaoh. And Joseph, through a divine gift, he explains to Pharaoh precisely what it means, as I will try to explain it to you this time, thanks to Andrew Lloyd Webber. He says, 7 years of bumper crops are on their way. Years of plenty, endless wheat, and tons of hay. Your farms will boom. There won't be room to store the surplus food you grow. After that, the future doesn't look so bright. Egypt's luck will change completely overnight, and famine's hand will stalk the land with food at all time low. Noble king, there is no doubt what your dream is all about. All these things you saw in your pajamas are a long-range forecast for your farmers. And I'm sure it's crossed your mind what it is you have to find. Find a man who leads you through the famine with a flair for economic planning. But who this man could be, I just don't know. Who this man could be, I just don't know. Who this man could be, I just don't know. And so Pharaoh hires him. Joseph's got a plan. And as The bumper crops happen for 7 years, just like he foretold. He saves it. And then when the drought comes and the famine, and Joseph sets up this scheme where he can ration it out, and Egypt is fine. All the other countries around are still suffering from this drought. All the other countries, there's people are starving, they're dying, and Egypt is fine because of Joseph. Because of the gift of interpreting dreams, of his bright ideas, of his cleverness, of his faithfulness. And Joseph saves Egypt. Pharaoh makes Joseph like the number 2 guy in all the country. He is his most trusted advisor. He has gone from here to here, to here to here, and to here once more. He's been sold into slavery by his own family. He has been tossed into jail for something he didn't do. And yet he doesn't give up and he doesn't quit. And he has faith in the Lord who has made a promise to him, to his family, to his descendants. And he rises to the top once more. And so the point of this could be something along the lines of, trust in God and don't give up and don't quit. And even when it's bad, there could be more to your story, just like there was to Joseph. And that's great. And that's a good point. And it's a point that I hope that we can kind of take to heart. But my real point about doing any of this is I want to try to tell a story that you would remember. And if the story was kind of fun and kind of interesting, then it would sort of sink in. Because it is. This is what really happened with Joseph. And it's amazing. God's provision, Joseph's faithfulness, going down into the dumps, you can't get any lower, and then rising to the highest of heights. And it is an amazing story, and I want you to hear it, and I want you to love it. Because when you love this story, you will love God's Word. When you love God's Word, you will love Him. And that's really it. Tell the stories of Scripture in a way that people can hear them and understand them, they can remember them, and like I said, hopefully to love them. So if this was a good story, remember it. And remember it because it was a good story, but also remember it so it would sink into your heart and to say, I love stories like this, and I love this story. I love the Joseph story and the Jacob story and all of these stories, because when you love these stories, it reminds you that this is God's Word, a story offered unto us. And I love that story. I love God's Word. And when you love God's Word, you will love Him. And that's pretty much it. Know it. Love it. Live it. Love His Word. And you will love